All right, we're starting the public recording of the July 28th Kubernetes Scalability SIG. All right, Tim, you said you had a couple of updates you wanted to share.
I coordinated with the CoreOS guys, and they released etcd 304, which solves some of the dependency problems we were having with trying to update the Go deps into Kubernetes. I'm still waiting on an updated tag release of Rocket. The reason why I need that is because it's a transitive dependency. So everybody needs to level set their protobuf version in order for us to build properly. So I'm waiting on that level set to occur, and then I can make changes inside of Kubernetes, hopefully to set as default for etcd3.
So that this is the goal of default for 1.4?
Yeah. So this is to set default for 1.4, and hopefully, I still have questions about what it means, what the support route for upstream will be, because there was comments on my PR about wanting to support both etcd2 and etcd3 for like one more release cycle. So we need to be able to test for both, and that's not really done presently upstream.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's certainly interesting news. We'll try to stay in touch with you on this. We still have our some etcd control plane testing work that we're doing, and we want to make sure we're being the most useful about that as we can.
Yeah, we're going to do more testing. We can't really do, even with the last release, we've realized we can't really do some of the testing we want to do. So it would have to be in the 1.4 cycle for us to validate things.
And anything of note there that pops out, or?
It's just dependencies is the biggest thing that we're noticing.
So what's your view on etcd3 running in 1.3? Is that just a non-starter, or is it?
You can run it. I would question the production level of that, because it hasn't had any cycles or vetting. You could run. We ran the test suite like 30 times against it, the end-to-end test suite, at least conformance. We didn't run all of the performance benchmarks. We ran conformance repeatedly, and it came out fine. But I would consider it like alpha at best. I would not use it for production. The whole reason for updating the defaults is so that we get a lot of test cycles against it.
Okay, that's useful background. I think that we still had a view that some of the kind of backup, some of the operations tooling that came along with etcd3 was sufficiently improved that it might be a good candidate for a production situation.
I would, yeah, for 1.3, I would not use it for production. It'd be like testing only or validation. For 1.4, provided we get the defaults settled soon, it would be more for the production deploys. So.
Okay, well, our thrust is going to be on the performance testing, and once we our hang-up has been that we have some of our own provisioning tooling that we use to set up our clusters and in our CI system, and we decided to support a couple of these testing things we needed to do. We needed to make some changes, so we're busy trying to get that done so we can get these numbers churned through, and then we have a few other things on our list. So, all right then. Was that your only update, or your main one?
Yeah, I think that relates to performance and scalability. That's pretty much the only one.
Okay. Very good. Let's see. Trying to see who else is here. Oh, look, Chow's here, just in time. We were just talking about etcd3 and 1.4 and 1.3. So.
Yep, that's great. Is there any question that needs me to answer or anything I need to do?
Nope. I think I'm pinging the Rocket folks, and they're going to update some version today. And once that's done, I can roll in the whole GoDev changes. We should be good to go.
Yep, great. Thanks, team.
Do you since we're somewhat on this topic, is this some change? Is there some change improvement related to Rocket support in 1.4? You're saying it needed a rebaseline, but
it's the protobuf dependency. Everybody needs to level set in the same version of protobuf.
But how does this affect the status of Rocket in 1.4? I know this is a bit of a SIG node topic, but since we're on it.
I don't really know. I can give you the issue number, and you can...
That'd be good. That'd be good.
That's the issue number where we're tracking the dependency graph things. So.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, I'll throw it open to any other topics for today.
Does anyone know what the status of scheduler changes are? I know that Wojtek had bantered that this was a priority for 1.4 release to make improvements, namely around like the affinity, anti-affinity. I have not seen much in that regard. I don't know if anyone else has.
So the one thing I did see was that that references to that work came through on the product management group, and it was the context there. I mean, I think Wojtek started off with talking about throughput improvements, by which I think he was talking about the like to take a pod scheduling request and schedule a bunch of them in a go, as opposed to doing the loop through every time. Batch scheduling of pods. So that specifically didn't show up, but there were a couple of line items about anti-affinity performance improvements. So it looks to me like Google put that on the list. So I'm assuming that's going to continue to put energy into his efforts in that regard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be tracking that. That's important to us too.
And I think there were two different. If you like, I can try to dig these up. There were two different anti-affinity line items. One of them was node to pod, and then there was a pod to pod.
Yeah, interpod. Yeah, interpod anti-affinity is the bigger one.
Right.
The node anti-affinity doesn't really matter so much. The interpod is the one that people care about a lot.
Yeah, keep these two pods running on different machines.
Yes.
To deal with failure cases. Right. So, it wasn't clear to me if one of those two cases had if they were both equally sort of impactive of the performance, or whether it was the pod to pod one.
The pod to pod one is the big one.
And then there was some commentary around that I guess I was slightly confused. If Wojtek were here, we could get a clarification from him on it. It sounded like when we last chatted that he was working on general purpose performance improvements, and it sort of felt like that scheduling work was just going to generally benefit from it. It sounded like from the other discussion that there was more work that needed to be done directly to the anti-affinity code. So I'm not sure which of those he's really working on.
I'll sync up with him when he's back, because once I get this other stuff done, that's going to be my next target area.
Oh, so. Very good. All right. Well, if you get to some point where you're interested in having some performance cycles in our setups, let us know. We'd be happy to help out.
I do have some status update to the CSDF Buster.
Very interesting.
Yeah, we've got our OpenStackified install up. There's a ton of networking issues inside of that environment, because they have like the latest chipsets, and not all drivers and firmware have been settled yet. So if you go into that environment, be aware that there could be demons. Like we had to literally update the firmware on a bunch of machines, and we had like drivers that haven't been fully vetted for that hardware yet.
I think at whatever point it is that we want to dip our toes in that water, we're going to be more interested in running Kubernetes on bare metal at that point.
Even then, you're going to have the same problem.
Yeah, we've been doing some work a bit off to the side, not directly related to this SIG. Taking a pretty hard look at low latency networking for one of our customers, and so we've been digging in on drivers and other things here as of late. So I think it's good advice though. We'll keep it in mind.
Yeah. So history and experience has taught us like Mellanox VXLAN offload cards, if you care about performance and networking, is pretty fundamental.
Indeed. And I don't think Rick is on here, but there was something, our networking guy, but there was something else we were taking a look at, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'll try to remember to ping you offline just to see if you had a quick opinion on it.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, any other topics for today? We can call an early close if there's nothing else. All right, we'll call it a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you.
Good day.
Thanks.